All right, so let's go with the other commie cunt, Griffin Gaming. Let's see what Griffin Gaming's mentally ill take is, because apparently there's a large amount of people who dislike Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, even though I can only find two YouTubers who have said anything about it, and one of them was Arch, who I already discussed is in leagues with multiple known pedophiles. So yeah, that's a very convincing argument there. Also, a scam artist who stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from his now ex fans and is currently facing a class action lawsuit and has had his baby turned into a cuck simulator of himself. Also, Jeremy Hamley, always a good defense to have the guy who pisses himself in front of 7-year-olds, who's most well known by normal people as the guy who pisses himself in front of 7-year-old kids. While I fucked his wife. I am actually the one who fucked Quartering's wife, just so you know, Griffin Gaming. In case you were wondering who it was, I have come out of the woodwork. I, Demi Supremi, am the one who cucked the Quartering. So you can rest easy now, knowing that I am the one. I have admitted to fucking Quartering's wife while he pissed himself in front of 7-year-old children. And I'm actually the reason why his wife met with me is because he was pissing himself in front of 7-year-old kids at another time. So she was like, "Hey, I don't want to really be fucking this pedophile. Can you fuck me instead? Fuck my brains out, so I don't have to deal with this fucking pedophile in my house." And I said, "Yeah, sure." And so that's what we arranged. Okay, so just so you know, I fucked the Quartering's wife.
This isn't a review of the game because I'm not done with it yet. Later on, when I'm finished, I definitely will make a final review, but for right now, I want to talk about the controversy surrounding this game, if you can even call it that.
Yeah, it's a controversy.
Because a lot of people are idiots, and I tried to stay quiet because telling the idiots that they are, in fact, idiots usually causes them to harass you. And the people who are outraged over this are a joke. Their logic is non existent. I mean, maybe they're just doing it for profit, which seems more and more likely because, I mean, intellectually, no one can defend the positions that these people are taking to criticize this game.
Arch tried to and failed because he has a sub-Haitian IQ. Griffin Gaming will also, because he has even less than a sub-Haitian IQ. His is more of a singular digit, and actually, it's not even an integer. It's a fractional IQ.
It's indefensible, but whatever. They're just a new, morally self-obsessed version of the same problem that video games have been grappling with for so many years, which is people that don't even play the games trying to dictate what's in those games. It is, with as much emphasis as I can possibly put on this word, dumb. It is dumb. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, obviously.
What's up, guys? I hope y'all are having a great day today, just full of so much positivity and happiness, dude, because this is going to be a real trip down memory lane for some of you guys, because it is...
What's the trip down memory lane? The fact that you're Griffin Gaming in a massive locale? Yeah, I do remember that. Hey, Griffin, remember that time that Alex dunked on you very mildly and you shit yourself? I remember that.
It's been a hot minute since I've done a good old-fashioned response video to just a really bad YouTube video that I've seen.
Hey, Cuck, can we get to the point where you're entertaining? I'm bored.
And I think there's no better
place is kind of
way to return to this style of content than to revisit one of my personal favorite content creators I've ever made a YouTube video on, the ever so pretentious Upper Echelon Gamers, or I guess as he's known today, Upper Echelon. And well, he recently uploaded a video surrounding the controversy of Kingdom Come
Non-traversy. The correct word you're looking for is non-traversy. A controversy that is made up for grifting purposes.
Deliverance 2, and the only way I can describe this video is disingenuous at best. Like, he is deliberately misrepresenting what the overall complaints surrounding this game.
No, he's not. He just doesn't care to dig into the mindset of retards. Like, yes, he technically is giving them, and he is technically, right? He is technically attributing intelligence where there is none. But can you really blame him for that? Can you blame him for thinking that they don't disrespect God, that you and your ilk don't disrespect God by refusing his gift of brain cells that he is giving you? Like, can you truly blame upper echelon for assuming that Christ-aligned folk would not abandon God's gift of brain cells? I'm just asking. I'm just asking questions.
Game are by a very large number of people who actually enjoyed the original game compared to the second one. And instead, he takes a few fringe idiots on Twitter and uses their retarded arguments to group everybody together into the same.
Well, yeah, that's how you do it. That's how you make it entertaining, right? This is called being humorous, right? This is something you should actually work on. You know, your humor is actually lacking a bit. You have a skill issue, if you might.
Boat to try and dispel the controversy by completely strawmanning what exactly it is people are upset about. And
okay, so first you said strawman. So first you said dispel, right? Which would assume that there is a magic being cast here. But then you said strawman, which would be a more physical action that you take rather than a metaphysical one. So your language is already demonstrating a lack of neuron activity. You know that, right? Because you are using magic language at one point and then logic language at another. This is a problem that you will notice because it ensures that you don't know the difference.
Never actually addressing the main points of concern.
Well, there aren't any main points of concern. This is all just people wanting money. This all came to be because Endymion wanted money. Endymion and Grums wanted money, and that's the only reason this controversy exists. You know, Grums wanted to make money while not developing Ember. And Endymion wanted to make money while not being entertaining and being a fat Mexican.
That people had with the game, and this is basically par for the course, because I've already made a video on this guy in the past surrounding his Doom Eternal review, which was absolutely hilarious. So this is of a similar vein. You will definitely detect the similarities if you remember that video. So I don't really think we need much more of an introduction here, guys. I think we should
was the review then
probably just go ahead and take a look at this absolute masterpiece of a YouTube video. So
maybe he just didn't like Doom Eternal. I think that's fine. I like it. I think it's an amazing game, but maybe he just didn't.
Without further ado, sit back.
Like, why is it wrong for someone to disagree with you? I thought you were calling him pretentious, but now you're saying this person disagreed with me online, and therefore they must be mocked and ridiculed for it. You're pretentious. Do you know that that's what a cunt does?
Back, relax, grab a drink, grab some popcorn, and let's go ahead and get...
Well, I mean, so you see, a cunt, by the way, is the lower part of a female human's anatomy, right? That you stick a penis in, and if you do that in and out enough, you will ejaculate this white fluid from your penis. And if you do that in the right way at the right time, right, you can potentially do this thing known as become a father, right? In 9 months. So, yeah. The more you know.
Right into this shit.
I assume you didn't know that. I'm just saying I need to educate you on that, I think.
This video is brought to you by Surfshark. Stick around to hear more about the special offer they're providing to the entire upper echelon community. Okay, just to make something clear right off the bat, this isn't a review of the game because I'm not done with it yet.
Yeah, just make sure you bear that little factoid in mind when we talk about the game going forward. He does not know everything that's in this game.
Well, nobody does. It's like except for that one person who 100%ed it, and that person liked the game. So how are you know?
Because he has not completed it yet. And
The
I would
person who completed it liked it. So what are we talking about?
assume maybe just because he wants to avoid spoilers, he doesn't know what a lot of people are talking about. I think that's being overly generous of myself, but yeah, just keep...
Well, no, I think he doesn't know what a lot of people are talking about because it's not really relevant in the game as much as you want to say.
Keep that in mind. He doesn't even know the full story yet.
Later
Full story. You don't even know the full story yet, clearly.
on, when I'm finished, I definitely will make a final review. But for right now, I want to talk about the controversy surrounding this game.
Controversy. You need to start saying controversy, upper echelon. It's the better term for this.
If you can even call it that. Because a lot of people are idiots, and I tried to stay quiet because telling the idiots that they are, in fact, idiots usually causes them to harass you.
I mean, we're already off to a great start here, man, because if you dare to challenge his superior intellect, dude, you're obviously just an
I
idiot.
mean, says the guy who can't even do proper sentence structure. I mean, what are we talking about here, my guy? You were literally talking about dispelling logic, right? You can't do that. It's not a magic spell. You don't cast it away. You know, like it's not a you know, think of it this way, right? Spells are using metaphysical energy, as in energy that is not natural, or otherwise, another way of saying it, is not real, right? So magic is a power source that's not real, and then logic is a power source that is anything that is real, right? Logic is the laws of reality. Magic is something that doesn't exist. Okay, that's actually the definition of it, because magic would mean that it's a source of power that comes from a non-real thing, right? So if it's not real, where it comes from, then it's not real. That's just how words work, right? So yeah, like that's also what metaphysical means. So metaphysically, right? Demons are metaphysical creatures, right? So just by defining that, they aren't real. They have no corporeal or real form.
Idiot, man, and it's not worth his time.
Physical means real. Metaphysical means fake. Imagine that.
Typically to address those pesky idiots who disagree with him. I mean, he's just so above it all, guys. He truly transcends the need for gaming discourse or a disagreement of ideals, because let's be honest, he's never wrong. And this is
I mean, he can't be wrong. It's a video game. It's clearly opinionated by definition. No one can be wrong, but it also means everyone is always right. So he technically can do that, and technically is the best kind of correct.
Exact same energy he possessed back in 2020 when he reviewed Doom Eternal and got pissed off with the community surrounding that game. So yeah,
Okay, and who cares?
I'm glad to see that some things
Do
change,
that.
but others remain the fucking same. You know, calling people idiots within the first 30 seconds of your YouTube video that disagree with you is definitely a great way to convince them that you're actually right in the situation.
But considering the fact that the original Kingdom Come Deliverance game was a pretty big moment for my entire channel, I figured what the hell, I might as well just do it. Here's the background.
I mean, I would never accuse someone of being a shill with unfounded evidence, but it does seem like he does have a legitimate financial
I mean, you do that all the time, though.
interest in this game doing well.
Kingdom Come Deliverance, developed by Warhorse.
What are you talking about? His financial interest is what? So people like the game, right? So if people like the game, he will get more money. All right. But people already like the game, so he's already guaranteed to get more money. So if there was a financial interest, then what it really comes down to is he is telling the majority of the population what they want to hear. And you are being a little piss baby because the majority of the world disagrees with you on this subject. and so he has the majority, position here, and you have the minority position here. He is the silent majority. You are the little bitch loud minority that everyone wants to squash because you're a fucking retard. So yeah, let's continue now that we know the playing field.
Horse Studios is an open-world, story-driven RPG, which was almost universally praised when it first came out in 2018.
You know, call me crazy, but I don't really think a 76 is an accurate portrayal of universal acclaim. And on top of that, if you remember the events surrounding the launch of Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 back in the day, the game's media was actually harshly criticizing the game for only featuring white in-game characters, and as a result was harshly criticized for that fact, and we'll get into that a little bit later. It's about to come up.
I played it. I loved it.
Let's see. Generally favorable. So I'm seeing like some 90s and 80s mainly, right? So 3% negative and 33% mixed, 63% positive. So let's see. So mostly positive, a couple mixed, and like 2 negative reviews. All right. And then we have the audience score, which also matters more importantly. So 2,755 positive reviews, 335 mixed reviews, and 447 negative reviews. So according to this, more audience members thought it was bad than critics did, but less thought it was of like an average game. So people had stronger opinions in the audience than they did in the critics. This is what that actually means. So the critics were generally favorable and generally favorable to neutral, while the audience was generally favorable or negative. All right, so now that we know the actual pattern here, and that Griffin Gaming is what's known as a liar, or at least someone who can't read at best, I will give you the good faith that you can't read. You have demonstrated a lack of sentience, so I will continue to judge your inability to read basic numbers and do extremely simple math that is already done for you. I will continue to assume that this is out of your inability to think rather than actually being obtuse. But just so you know, this is an assumption that I will not have forever.
And I also got to see in real time how the game was attacked for somehow failing to conform in terms of modern expected narrative themes. As an example of that, we can look at Eurogamer, which essentially panned the game, saying, quote, "There's also a big problem. There are no people of color in the game," end quote. Even going on to individually target the game's creative director, Daniel Vavra, calling him a vocal supporter of Gamergate, and doubling down on the idea that exclusion is a form of racism. Ergo, Kingdom Come Deliverance, by not having more black people, de facto makes the game racist. That is quite obviously on its face absurd, especially when you consider the fact that the setting for this game is the medieval kingdom of Bohemia, which was not a diverse place in any sense of the modern word.
What's funny about this, in his own review 6 years ago, he acknowledges the fact that this controversy is what pushed a lot of people into the franchise. And
well, it wasn't really a controversy, and it didn't push people into the franchise. The game being good pushed people into the franchise is actually what happened, right? See, this is how like you spin your narrative on a fucking foundation of toilet paper, right? See, the game has to be good for your narrative to work, right? But the thing is, right, if the game was bad, it wouldn't sell well, right? So this is the thing. You claim games that people have already praised, right? Right? You claim games people have already praised, and then it makes you seem more intelligent than you factually are. You factually aren't intelligent at all, but by only allowing good games to be labeled the anti-woke category, right? After they've already proven their merit, you try to somewhat boost the people's view of your lack of intelligence to maybe this guy has 3 functioning neurons instead of 0. However, the problem is, right, now people have started to see through your bullshit because some of you got greedy, like Mark Kern and Endymion got greedy, and they made assumptions before the game came out. And see, now that you've made assumptions before the product came out, you've gotten greedy, and now the game is still good. It's still a massive success. And so you have lost, right? Because now you have to either say a woke game can succeed, and therefore wokeness doesn't equal a bad game, or you have to concede the idea, right, that anti-woke games, that no one cares if a game is woke or anti-woke. They care if it's a good game. And either way, you lose, right? You've already lost. In fact, you have no ground to stand on in the first place, right? You only started gaining victories towards the late 2020s when a lot of games were kind of mid, right? And we also had an major economic recession. So we had to have 2 massive things come to fruition for your argument to appear to have any merits at all. And by that point, woke games had pretty much proven themselves anyway, right? Woke games continue to prove themselves as well. Cult of the Lamb, massive success, right? Hades 1 and 2, massive successes. You know, like, they can keep going, right? I can keep going with these indie titles because it's amazing how you guys avoid them because you know that the indie successes prove you all wrong. I can go with Dave the Diver. I can go with, Undertale, Deltarune, right? Celeste. I can keep naming names, right? I can name Nightmare Car. I can continue to name them. You cannot win because we have proven you wrong in every metric of every market. Simply by making games that are good and fun, people will enjoy them. Only by making a game that is so bad, like Dragon Age Veilguard or Concord, that nobody could enjoy it, does wokeness ever cause issues with the game itself. So knowing that people have to actually sabotage their own projects for wokeness to have any effect, and also if they sabotage their own projects, wokeness will also fail. Anti-wokeness will also fail. That wokeness and anti-wokeness have no bearing in the general gaming discourse. You have now proven that. Well, you've proven that like since day one, but you have now proven it again. So congratulations. You continue to prove the blatantly obvious, that people buy what they want to buy, morals be damned.
Made them fans of the game in the first place because they saw a developer in a studio that were willing to stand by what they believed in pursuit of a historically accurate game and portrayal of the setting, that they decided to spend their money in order to try the game out and support somebody who was not catering to the leftist gaming journos that hate.
No, they bought it because they thought the game looked fun. That's it. You are thinking that other people think as retarded as you do, but in reality, you want to know how many people think as you do, right? I'm going to give you a hint. The game that you were talking about, Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, had way more sales than that. In fact, I'm going to surprise you even more. Surprise Pikachu face. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has more people than that. You want to know how many people you have? All right, DEI detected. Let's look at the DEI detected Steam group. This should settle my point right off the bat. Right, how many members does this have? So this says 4,000. Okay, where's okay, let me. Does this only have 4,000 followers? Where's the? Oh wait. It's Sweet Baby Ink detected. That's right. Sweet Baby Ink detected. There we go. Right? So 472,047 followers, right? So that is the entire size of your movement, right? So less than 500,000 people. And it's been several years. All right, so less than 1 million people right now. How many sales did Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 have, right? All right, sales. So over 2 million. All right. Oh, 5 million now. Wait, that's not even, okay. This is like years ago, actually. All right, so 2. So 1 million. All right, already. So it has already, both have already sold more than double what your entire movement has. At just now, just looking now, at the very minimum, both are at least double the size of your entire movement. So just so you know, mathematically, right? If you do like the multiplication, right? You basically that means that their number is bigger than your number. So even if every single one of you did what you said you did, it would not be successful.
Any type of game that doesn't meet a diversity quota. So for him to basically betray the fans and walk back
but you didn't betray the fans because you aren't the fans. You make at most 1/10 of the fan base.
Statement where he says,
according to sales, you are 1/10 of Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 sales. So you were at most 1/10 of the sales of that game.
quote, there were no black people in medieval Bohemia, period. That in and of itself is a betrayal to the people who you acknowledge got into this game in the first place because of the controversy surrounding
Did they though?
this very specific issue.
With any game out there comes a spritz of controversy. The game was accused of a racist narrative by not including diversity in a medieval Bohemian landscape.
Oh, look, it's Brozyme.
I won't dissect the ethnic population distribution at the contemporary time because...
Man, did they just snuff out Brozyme in this game? Man, he fell off. He used to do great Warframe content, but then he just died in a video game. And how the mighty have fallen. That's a joke, by the way. His content's still pretty good.
For starters, it would be a massive undertaking, and I am no expert on that
subject. He's also not dead.
But all signs I have found point to this being relatively...
I have to tell you that, by the way, Griffin Gaming, just in case you think that I'm being serious, because you sound like a person who's incapable of getting jokes.
Historically accurate, though perhaps not an absolute certainty, and it was done with no possible ill will or conscious bias. If anything, that burst of tension at and surrounding launch just brought more publicity to the game, and while some came for the potential controversy, many also stayed for the unique, rewarding, and ambitious game that it is.
So keep this little tidbit in mind as he moves forward and completely ignores the valid criticisms that people have surrounding Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and its retcons, and instead decides...
Valid criticisms? And what retcons? Arch didn't talk about retcons. Arch talked about, like, Lolly is pedophilia now because I want it to be because I'm dumb. And also his other argument was Mansa Musa was in there, which he literally was. I mean, so like, where's the controversy there? And then, like, so did you know that you can have gay sex if you want to? Which is not a canon event, as in, you know, it's not, like, you canonically don't do that in the games, but you can do that if you want to, right? So you have non-canon decisions you can make. Nice.
To hyperfixate on a couple retards on Twitter in order to paint the entire group of people who don't like the decisions made in this particular game.
Yeah, of course, that's more entertaining. Why would you ever acknowledge people who are somewhat intelligent? This is the the thing is, he'll acknowledge you, he'll acknowledge art. He will not acknowledge those smart people that you claim exist, because if he did, it would be less entertaining. Yeah.
As nothing more than a bunch of dumbasses who don't know how to tie their own shoe. I mean, this is
you're not exactly proving him wrong yet.
Pure definition of straw manning an argument that we're about to witness here.
It's not really what straw manning is. Straw manning, right, is when you make up something that you make up a weaker version of what someone said. What you're saying is he is attacking the actual arguments of certain people and not the arguments of other people. That's not straw manning, right? That's just making the arguments against certain people and not others. Straw manning, right, is when you make shit up in order to prove in order to attack it, right? It's when you lie effectively.
But the thing that I want to focus on is a top-down expectation of control. If you want a much more recent example of this phenomenon, look no further than Hogwarts Legacy, which was boycotted because of J.K. Rowling's allegedly transphobic opinions, but that boycott, and there's huge air quotes around that word, ultimately failed to impact the game whatsoever.
Yeah, this is a terrible example to compare to Kingdom Come Deliverance because Hogwarts Legacy was boycotted because people didn't like J.K. Rowling. It had absolutely nothing to do with the game itself, the lore inside of the game.
Well, no, it didn't, right? But also this one really doesn't either.
Or anything to do.
So here's the thing, right? A boycott, in order for a boycott to work, right? You need this thing, right? Where you need like an actual opinion people actually agree with, right? But it appears that you don't. So, yeah, you
do with the actual development of said game. The only problem people had is the fact that they bought a license from J.K. Rowling. That is literally it. The game itself had all the type of shit that the very people boycotting the game would have liked themselves. So that was the irony of the Hogwarts Legacy boycott.
Oh, yeah, I pointed that out like even before the boycott began because I actually read the fucking books. I was like, you guys are claiming that because she's transphobic now on Twitter all day, to an obsessive degree where she literally like claims women must be men, even though literally there is documented evidence of Imani Khalif being a woman or a girl at every point in her life. And the only evidence she has that Imani might be a man is a French gossip newspaper, basically French Kotaku, called The Correspondant. Wrote an article where they showed a single piece of tissue paper that alleged that a doctor might have looked at her and said that she could have been a man. That is the entire Imani Khalif controversy, by the way. The evidence is that a French gossip newspaper I shouldn't have to actually say anything more than that. But the evidence is that a French Kotaku, a French gawker called The Correspondant, said something and used a piece of tissue paper as evidence. And they said it was medical documents because a doctor was involved in it, right? Now, I, being a person who has been to a hospital before, recognize that medical documents aren't the size of a receipt you get at the grocery store, and laughed at it the entire time, and laughed at it even more when they further proved their lunacy by dunking on her further, right? After she had already been proven to have been a girl when she was 5 years old. Which would be a ridiculous thing to believe at that point, right? Oh, so she's a man because she must be because this 5-year-old girl in a country that is vehemently transphobic and literally has a death penalty for trans people. Definitely she's a trans woman who was once a man in that country. They would totally allow that. Which is why I am totally taking that seriously. Yeah, I'm not like J.K. Rowling has gone off her rocker at that point. Anyone who attacks Imani Khalif is like, it's a good system of saying these people are mentally ill. They are so transphobic, they are more mentally ill than trans people. And as a trans woman, I can tell a lot of us are fucking mentally ill. So being more mentally ill than us is actually fucking funny.
It had absolutely nothing to do with the content of the game is the main point here. In terms of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, it has everything to do with the type of content that's in the game and the massive retcons and walkbacks that the developers...
Retcons, though. You know, like retcons implies, right? So retcons implies that they canonically disagree, right? That's what a retcon is. It's a retroactive continuity, right? It's when you change the continuity later, right? That's already been established. But the thing is, the actions you do, right, in the game aren't established in the continuity to have happened before the first game or during it, right? So there's no retroactive continuity. You just have the decision, you just have the ability to make decisions that you didn't have in the first game. And you can meet characters that you couldn't meet in the first game. This isn't retroactive continuity because in the game, they introduce that they are there for specific reasons that didn't occur in the first game. So therefore, one with a thing called a noggin, right, can deduce, right, with deductive Sherlock Holmesian reason, right, that these aren't retcons because these are all events that took place after the first game. You can't retcon the future. You can only retcon the past. That's how retcons work. Unless you're DC and like you retcon the whole fucking timeline. But then you've also retconned the present and the past anyway. You can't retcon the future. If the future changes, right? If the future changes, do you want to know what happens? It's just called the future, right? Retcons aren't the future. Retcons are the past and the present. You can't retcon the future.
Compared to the first game that are in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, so it is a completely opposite scenario. The boycott of Hogwarts Legacy had absolutely nothing to do with the game itself. The people who are not happy about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 have a problem with the actual game itself, not the person who made...
I haven't seen any evidence of that. I've seen evidence of people who side with Synthetic Man, all 5 of them, and I have seen evidence of people laughing at him and you and Arch and the 3 other people who agree with Synthetic Man here, and nothing else.
The IP that's being licensed.
As it went on to become a massive commercial success because it was a good game. See, that's really what people care about in this industry. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, obviously. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions. Everyone's entitled...
Did you think it was intelligent to repeat the thing he said, which, you are entitled to it, right? He can call you retarded. He's also entitled to that right? Did you know that in America, right, you have the right to call someone a retard if you think they're retarded? Did you know that? Did you know that? Like in America, you have the right to call retarded people retarded. I know you didn't know that because you're retarded, but that's why I'm telling you. If you think someone's a retard, you can call them retarded. Now, I think you are a subhaitian, low IQ, subfractional of a neuron motherfucker who needs to get laid so you can actually stop disobeying God by refusing to use the brain cells he gave you. But while I know this to be true, you are also entitled to disagree with me. And I am entitled to laugh at you in response. See, the way entitlement works with the First Amendment, there's no end point here. We can keep going. We can keep going. We can keep going. We can keep going. And I will go as long as you want. If you want to go, we will fucking melee. We will with our words, right? We will never stop arguing, and I will fucking win because I can do the tart cart showdown longer than you can, buddy. But let's go anyway. Let's do. It's do, right?
Entitled to their own opinions, because a lot of people are idiots, and I tried to stay quiet because telling the idiots that they are in fact idiots usually causes them to harass you. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, obviously.
Okay, but that's not how you didn't prove irony. You proved that he called you a moron and that he said you were entitled to be a moron. That's not irony. You used the meme wrong, you fucking retard. This is why he called you retarded.
What people truly want is a good.
You had to boost the voice too. I guess the attempt at humor was it's still an F.
Good, well-made, fun gameplay experience, and if they get one, they don't really care about the politics or the social issues. Take Baldur's Gate 3, for example. That game has a metric ton of what people refer to as woke narrative options, especially in the romance category, but the sheer depth of choice, the scale of the world, the amount of options that you have on what or when or why you do something is practically unparalleled in the entire gaming industry, which completely overrides any sort of outrage campaign, because when you peel back all of the individual layers, what people really want, that is, the people that actually play the games, is just a good, well-made, enjoyable experience.
Again, this is another false equivalency because Baldur's Gate 3 and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 are completely different things. Baldur's Gate 3 is a choose-your-own-adventure game where your choices impact the overall...
No, Baldur's Gate 3 is an RPG, retard. That's not a choose-your-own-adventure. That's an RPG. Now, that's kind of what an RPG should be, right? But that's what an RPG is. Like, you role play, right? You get into, like, so, like, you are an actor, right? And you play a role in a scenario, right? That's what role playing is. You pretend to be someone you are not. And you dedicate yourself to that someone that you are not in real life, right? So, for example, if I am wanting to do a mafia RP, right, and I want to be Scarface, right, I got to get into the Al Capone style dialogue. I'm using the actual Scarface, not Tony Montana, by the way. So I got to get into like I got to study his dialect. I got to do a little bit of like his mannerisms, his outfits, even potentially, right? So I can understand the mind that is Al Capone to at least a moderate degree that's somewhat believable. And then I will role play him, which is basically I will make decisions in the game as well as speak lines of dialogue as if I was Al Capone, right? And I will do things as if I was Al Capone. You get the idea, right? That's what role playing is. It's another word for it. If you've ever watched a movie, you might have heard these guys. It's called acting, right? So effectively, when you play Dungeons and Dragons, you are doing what is known as acting. You are choosing a scenario, and then you were acting it out. Right? It's sort of in real time. You kind of have to make some of the script up as you go. But yes, that's what you are doing when you roleplay. You are acting. You are doing a script for fun instead of money. You're an actor. That's what role-playing is.
Story completely. In Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, you play as a preset character that already...
Yeah, but you're also still role-playing, so you can still, right, act, right? It's still a role-playing game, right? Like, you still have decisions you can make. You still can... do a lore-accurate Henry, but you can also do a non-lore-accurate Henry. By the way, did you know that you can die as Doomslayer? How lore-inaccurate is that, right? Doomslayer can't die, and according to the lore, Doomslayer doesn't die. So Doomslayer doesn't even get hurt, right? So why are you losing health and armor? This is lore inaccurate. You are not... You are disobeying the lore. You are fucking the game up. You are ruining my immersion. You're getting hit when you shouldn't be. Because Doom Guy doesn't get hit. He's not allowed to. Because the game says he doesn't in the lore. Right? But clearly you do. I guess this is an immersion breaking moment for you, isn't it? Or what happens is what most people would say. You have a skill issue.
He has an established lore and predetermined story surrounding him. And if you don't believe me, let's go ahead and read the actual quote from Warhorse Studios that will come into play a little bit later, because trust me, it's going to be a topic that we're going to have to talk about in response to someone asking about gay relationships in the game. And it says, same-sex romance. No, you will play as Henry, the son of a blacksmith from Silver Scalus, and he already does have a backstory in which he is not bi or homosexual. This is not the same thing as Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is all about your choices. Kingdom Come Deliverance is all about experiencing Henry's story and his...
No, it's not, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to do anything. That you're a fucking retard. There would be no choices then, right? It would all be linear decisions, but that's also not how it works. There are side quests and things like that. There are optional scenarios in the first game. You debunked it yourself. Congratulations.
Overall decisions do not have a massive impact on the overall plot progression. You're basically a side character at best who's witnessing these events firsthand.
No,
You're not...
that's not how it works. Man, I get that you don't play games, but besides, I guess, Doom Eternal, but like, can you not clearly demonstrate that for me? I want a challenge. Like you're getting boring. You're boring me. I'm bored.
Not directly impacting them, and that is the massive difference and major false equivalency. We're talking about a character that is already canonically straight being retconned to have...
No, he's not being retconned. You just can do non-canon things. And also, it's the future, so it's not retconned.
A romance options versus a create your own character, choose your own adventure type game. These are not the same things. And it's beyond disingenuous to act that way. You know, maybe he's not being disingenuous in this one instance. You know, I'll extend a little bit of grace, but in all honesty, man, I highly fucking doubt it, because the rest of this video...
when are you going to do what fully embrace your Leafy persona, you chinless soy boy cuck, and actually just get high off drugs and kill yourself like Leafy did?
Is exactly
Leafy didn't die, that's right. But he did get high off drugs and ruin his career.
That
he might as well have killed himself at this point.
To be clear, I can fully understand why people get upset if it feels like a game was somehow sacrificing a piece of its core identity for the purpose of pushing social and political narratives. God knows, The Last of Us 2 is a brutal example of that, in my opinion. And I've made that argument myself in the past several times for different titles. But hopefully by the end of this video, I'll be able to showcase that this...
The Last of Us 2 it was still financially successful. People loved it. A lot of people on the internet did not love it because it was very much a lot more controversial than this game. But part of the reason was also that Neil Druckmann is a male feminist, which I shouldn't need to say what the actual problem there is at this point. I mean, Neil Gaiman has also proven that recently. Yeah, okay, I'll just say it since you are clearly incapable of finding things out without being told. The creator of the game is a rapist. There you go. Believe it or not, that's also the creators of Overwatch and Overwatch 2. Did you know that people don't like it when their games are made by rapists and pedophiles? Did you know that Jeepers Creepers used to be beloved until people found out that Victor Salva was a convicted pedophile? Did you know that Rurouni Kenshin used to be one of the most beloved manga of all time until the creator was found with a catalog that rivaled Jared Fogle of child pornography? Did you know that I used to love Teen Nick? I used to recommend Drake and Josh and iCarly when I was a kid and young adult because it was a very fun, good show. And then the creator turned out to be a child molester who raped all the female child actresses on the shows, and that his co-director, Brian Peck, was also a pedophile who raped a boy, who raped 2 of the male stars, including Drake Bell, who later became traumatized into thinking it was normal and tried to hook up with his own underage bitch, because of how long that raping lasted. It literally lasted fucking 10 years, right, of his life. And also another thing that happened, Brian Peck was later hired at Disney for The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. And that actually ruined a lot of things with Zack and Cody, believe it or not. Cole and Dylan Sprouse want nothing to do with Disney. Cole will only ever touch, or was it Dylan? One of them will only touch Disney to do Kingdom Hearts games as Yuzora, and that's it. And the other will not touch Disney with a 1,000,000,000,000-foot pole. So yeah, believe it or not, there are multiple reasons to be critical of these companies that have nothing to do with their politics and everything to do with how shameless these billionaire pedophiles are that rape children and their own work and their own employees, because they're disgusting perverts who want nothing to do with anything actually politically beneficial to the minority groups they pretend to defend, but actually just want to chase and rape them because that's what gets their jollies off. This is why, like, it's funny, like, everyone's like, trans people wouldn't want to buy Disney anyway. I'm like, yeah, they're rapists. Why the fuck would I want to buy from a studio that rapes its employees? you gotta, like, have me smoking some fucking crack to think I'd be doing that. You gotta be, no, not crack. Crack's not good enough. You gotta be on some, like, fentanyl to be seeing things that badly. Some LSD maybe. PCP at the very least.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 really isn't one of
seeing some wild shit. I want to know those shrooms you've been taking, Griffin Gaming.
those cases.
Uh-oh, spoiler alert, guys.
Tell me the shrooms you take. It must be some good shit.
Guys, he barely does.
No, like, tell me the shrooms you're taking.
If ever at all.
Tell me the shrooms you're taking. I want to know the brand. I want to know your dealer, actually. Tell me your dealer. Tell me your dealer's name, location, and his prices, because you're clearly on some good shit.
Oh, actually.
No. Don't argue with him. Tell me the dealer name, location, price.
Address the
You're not following instructions. Answer my question. Stop gish galloping. Answer my questions. Dealer name, location, prices. I need to know this.
Genuine complaints about this game.
Dealer name, location, prices.
And instead uses two idiots.
Dealer name, location, prices. You're not escaping from me, asshole. Dealer name, location, prices.
It's to try and strawman the
dealer name, location, prices.
Entire argument against it.
Dealer name, location, price. You haven't answered me yet, pussy. Why you haven't answered me yet?
Shocking.
Kingdom Come Deliverance, the original, despite being an
he still hasn't answered me. I gotta ask him later.
Undeniably successful product, was vocally criticized by a small group of people over its lack of in-game diversity. But 7 years later, with the sequel, it's now being criticized by the flip side of that very same coin, a smaller group of extremely vocal people, not for its lack of diversity or inclusion, but rather because of it.
Is he going to expand upon these topics and actually let us know precisely what it is people are arguing against?
No, because it's funnier if he doesn't. This is the best part. You guys don't understand entertainment value supersedes anything else. He does, which is why he's a bigger channel than you.
Primarily its inclusion of certain romance options, which is one of the most painful displays of self-exposing idiocy that I've possibly ever seen in my time on YouTube.
Okay, so retconning the sexuality of a character and going back on what they previously stated.
He hasn't retconned anything. He has changed the future, which isn't a retcon. It's not a retcon at all. Like, you have to change the past or the present. You didn't do that though. So here's what I want to know: dealer name, location, prices. Come on, answer me this, my guy.
Before, which again, let me go ahead and read it again. You will play as Henry, the son of a blacksmith from Silver Scalus, and he already does have a backstory in which he is not a
All right, but that's the backstory for the first game. This is the second game that takes place after the first game. How do you know he didn't suddenly start having gay feelings in the second game that he didn't feel in the first game? You know, people's minds can change. Maybe he saw like maybe what happened is he saw like a dude's ass, like you know, like a sexier dude's ass, and started and like a little close and uncomfortable in between the first and second game. But when he did that in like the medieval shower rooms, right? He instead of being repulsed, he got hard, and then he was weirded out by that feeling. But eventually, he just accepted that he might be bisexual, or well, what they whatever term they had it back in the day, because obviously the term bisexual was not a thing. Also, really, it was just he was into buggery. That's what it would be called, right? So he's into butt stuff, right? He was into buggery. So he found out later, right? In the first game, he was straight, but later he found out he might like the bussy, but he didn't like the bussy in the first game, right? So what that means is his opinion changed. Now, we can find many situations in our head for why his opinion changed as he grew older. I have come up with a few in my head already, and I've mentioned them, right? But there are many more. We don't know. But we do know that something happened between the first and second game where he started thinking less straightly, which is fine. Because it's the future. He didn't say Henry was always gay, right? He said he can be gay now. So in the future, you have the option to be gay, but you are not gay in the first game. It's almost as if like environmental factors, as well as the genetic and everything else, can play a tune into the sexuality of a person, which means that as they get older, some of that can potentially change.
Bisexual or homosexual, but there will be homosexual NPCs in the game. Nobody will force you to do anything, but you will play as Henry, the son of a blacksmith, and yes, he is straight.
So
and
wait, so there's homosexual NPCs in the first game, right? But Henry is straight, right, in the first game. So what I'm gonna guess, right, is that in between the first and second game, Henry remembered how good the asses of some of those homosexual guys looked, and got hard in his mind sphere, and said, maybe these guys were having way too much fun. Maybe I should try that. And then he decided to, and then he liked it, and this is the reason why he can be gay in the second game. So there we go. He just didn't know he could. He just didn't experience gay sex. He was kind of groomed into it. There we go. He was groomed into being gay. There's the plot, right? So it's not even pro-gay. He was groomed into it, which would be anti-gay rhetoric, right? Right? So there we go. I've proven it's actually a pro on your side, if you want to take it that way. But if you don't, then that would mean that you would have to say that grooming people into being gay is a good thing, because otherwise, how could you be against the concept of Henry being groomed into being gay is a bad thing, right? Because if it's a game which lets you be immoral, right, and make immoral choices, right, then it would potentially be an immoral choice you can make. And so Henry being groomed into becoming a homosexual would actually be an indication the game is against homosexuality, because it would imply that in a criticism that you can only be homosexual if you were groomed, right? See, this is how like a person who is of a proper human intelligence can interpret a lot of woke things in games that actually make you allow you to have these things called choices into anti-woke things. It's also how I can easily debunk Synthetic Man's Dead Space's woke thing, because I mean, oh yeah, the corporate propaganda posters are now more corporate and propaganda-y, and you know, the gay people all die, right? Horrible deaths. Actually, they don't even die. They suffer fates far beyond the horrors of any death could muster, right? So if you're gay, you suffer a severely painful death. Wow, I just made Dead Space remake anti-woke with just the mindset of what goes on in the game. Imagine that. I can literally debunk a lot of these takes when it comes to good games. I can't do it with bad games, but I can do it with good games. And good movies too, right? Like, watch me with Evil Dead Rise, right? Actually, don't watch me. Watch Boren Keith. He did it already. But did you know that Evil Dead Rise is not a pro-trans film? It's actually a pro-life film about a conservative mother who starts the journey of not wanting to mother her child, but over time and through hardship learns that mothering her child is for the best. See, this is the cool things about you know, certain topics, is that if it's good, you usually can just debunk the wokeness even by understanding what's actually going on in the media.
White and male and from Bohemia. So let me get this straight. Not only did people not care about the inclusion of gay NPCs in the first game, so that entire argument is out the fucking window. It more so has to do with the fact that it's because of the retconning of the existing lore surrounding the character. If this was an option from the beginning...
But it's not a retcon, though. It didn't change his past. It changed his present and his future.
In the first game, and
It's not a retcon. The first game isn't changed.
Developer didn't make it a point to come out and make statements like this, maybe people wouldn't have an issue with it. But when you get acquired by Embracer Group, which is known for being one of the most progressive and left-leaning companies in the video game industry, it's not really too crazy.
So, you know, you're not very good at insults. If you want to insult a left-winger, call them pedophilic commies. Like I do, right? Like, do like an actual insult, my guy. Just stop this fucking lame-o bullshit. Say what you mean. Say it with your chest. Like, do what I do. Say it with your chest, motherfucker.
To think that as soon as you get acquired by them, the sequel to the game that established this lore retcons it that maybe something is afoot here. But nah, dude, don't ask questions, just consume the product, am I right?
Well, no, just enjoy things you enjoy. If you don't enjoy things, then sure, you can ask questions, but the thing is, clearly people are enjoying them and asking questions, and then their enjoyment is you know, ruined by those questions because they're retards who can't enjoy things.
The Overton window truly has shifted.
That's a mental illness, by the way. That actually makes you mentally ill when you lack the capacity to feel pleasure. Did you know that? It means that you can only feel negative emotions, right? Because pleasure is all positive emotions, and all negative emotions are fear, right? Like, that's ultimately what the brain actually does. Chemically, it's all pleasure and fear. And then for example, an emotion like hatred or disgust or any form of aversion is actually just fear compounded on itself. Did you know that? That's actually how the brain works. It's basic psychology. You learn this literally like in the first fucking couple weeks.
Man, you know, when everything's woke, I guess nothing is by definition.
So what are people mad about? Well, there's a few things, but mostly people are angry that the game contains a romance option where Henry, the main character that you play, can sleep with Hans, his friend. On a personal note, I think Hans is just a completely obnoxious character. So in my playthrough, I'm insulting him and calling him pretentious or insignificant is a specific one that comes to mind every single chance I get. Obviously, I'll never experience the romance dialogue because I deliberately tank my reputation with him. But even if you tried to find this dialogue on purpose, it's one scene in a game that has like over 100 hours of content.
This is such a stupid argument, bro. Like, you know, just ignore everything, guys.
Well, yeah, because you don't want to see it. Why are you actively trying to see this thing that you don't want to see? You control the buttons you press. What game are you playing? I think this is Doom Eternal, right? Let me. I'm just like. Sorry, like I have this like thing that my brain does called pattern seek, where I remember things that happened, right? So Doom is made by id Software, right? Who famously, when they made Doom Eternal, and people and journalists got mad at the game, said to the journalist, "You control the buttons you press," right? So did you know? Did you know Griffin Gaming? You are a journalist that is playing Doom Eternal, right? And is mad that players control the buttons they press.
You know, you could have the most vile stuff imaginable, like EDP level stuff, and that's A-okay because it's only one scene, right? I mean, obviously that's an extreme example, but just don't care about anything, guys. It doesn't matter. It's just a tiny portion of the greater product. Don't have any standards and just consume,
this
bro.
Isn't really standards, though. This is actually what this is a fear-mongering to avoid enjoying things. So yeah, stop doing that. You shouldn't do that. You should just enjoy things you enjoy. You know what this actually is? You should be cringe and embrace the cringe things you enjoy and not try to be peer pressured by a loser who will become a drug addict in 5 to 10 years like his predecessor Leafy did. Don't simp for the appeal from an opinion, from a favorable opinion from a guy like Griffin Gaming, who will just be found on the street, homeless in a couple years. Don't do that. Don't let a future homeless man be your mentor, unless they're an American soldier. But don't join the American military because you will become homeless when you get home. Like you know what they say? Like where do you see you know, where does the army go once the war is over? The Salvation Army homeless shelter, right? Yeah, like that's a sad truth about America. American soldiers often go home to a shelter because they end up being homeless by the time they get home from war.
Who cares if the developers lied to you? Who cares if they retconned the lore surrounding two main characters in the second game compared to the first?
But
you know,
they didn't retcon any lore. Their opinions changed in the future. You know how that works, right? So the future, the past is something that happened before. A retcon is when you change retroactively their past, right? So this isn't their past though. They were straight in the past. Now they can be gay if you want them to be. So they're still straight unless you choose for them to take actions which will make them gay later. Fun fact. Retcons only work if it is a decision in the past of the character that changes.
Don't care about anything. Just buy the game and play it. And the funny thing is, too, if it's such an insignificant portion of the game that makes no difference, why did they need to include it in the first place? And
because they wanted to. Like, this is the dumbest fucking argument. They wanted to do it, so they did. It's their game. They developed it. They wanted to do it, so they did. Like ultimately, you know, that's the real reason for any decision in creative works, right? They wanted to do it, so they did. Now, there can be more logic to it, you know, obviously some of the best writers have more logic to it, but ultimately they wanted to do it. That's the ultimate decision. They're creating things, right? They want to do something.
That's where this entire argument always falls apart. If it's truly
your argument just fell apart because I already destroyed it. I said they wanted to do it. You don't have an argument at that point because you're asking why on a question that literally just needs an "I wanted to do it" answer. You're asking as if they need a formal response that is completely justified with pages and pages of text. No, they just say, I wanted to do it, motherfuckers. Fuck you.
Why bother
that's all they need to do to justify it.
even putting it in the game
Say,
in the
I wanted to do this thing that you are asking me why it's in there.
first place? Why did they make a concerted effort to retcon established?
But they didn't retcon it. You can't prove it was a retcon because you can't prove that the second game says he was always gay. You can only prove that he can be gay in the future of the second game. So the second game is the future of the first game, right? So it takes place after. So the decisions that you make don't affect the first game. They are not retcons.
Lore that they defended publicly in the past.
But they didn't retcon the lore. They allowed you to change it in the future. They don't allow you to change it in the first game.
If it didn't matter.
It's not in the lore in the second game that it happened that way in the first game.
And that's not even taking into account the fact that Vavra lied about this inclusion of this content leading up to launch. He flat out denied its existence and then later had to admit it was real when people got their hands on the game. So there is multiple layers.
Why would he have to lie about it? I think what it actually is, you are mad that he is fucking with you, right? This is a fun little thing, right? So Daniel Vavra, right? The thing you were mad that Daniel Vavra did is Daniel Vavra trolled you guys. You got owned, right? You guys just got owned, and you didn't like that. But he, being the guy who did it, is giddy about it because it's funny, and you guys don't like that someone laughed at you for falling for blatantly obvious political stunts, and he thinks you were morons, right? Because you are. There we go.
To this entire situation, and it's disingenuous as fuck to pretend, oh, people are just mad about an option in a video game, dude.
But you are. You proved you are.
The thing is, people really care about this. And the rumors about this game being woke have been circulating since well before it ever released.
Well, it turns out that pretty much every single rumor was true. I was using
okay.
Air quotes, by the way, but yeah, you can't.
Well, they were rumors. You didn't actually have any proof of them until they happened. Here's a real question, though, right? Nobody knew Embracer Group was tied to this until later, right? There's no evidence from any of you ever acknowledging that, right? So what we have here, right, is there were rumors, right, that were started by Daniel Vavra and the woke journalist themselves, right? And see, the thing is, you forget Kotaku is one of those woke journalists, right? Now, Kotaku is not a traditional journalist in any regards of the way, right? Kotaku were always kind of like just shit stirrers. They're trolls, right? Effectively, right? So Kotaku's goal in anything, right, is ultimately to stir shit and cause controversy where there is none to prove that they can, right? And no other reason. They're doing it because they want to and they think it's funny. So you took the words of these woke journalists at face value, and then some of them were proven to be true. Not all of them, by the way, only a very small portion. And you changed your opinion because Kotaku told you to. You fell for Alyssa Mercante. You were her bitch. You got raw dogged by Alyssa Mercante. So how does it feel knowing that you got fucked by Alyssa Mercante's fruit-narded cock? I want to know, like, can you tell me like how it felt, my guy?
Can't see him.
Here's some slop article right here.
I was expecting to, but okay, I'll deal with the non-sex noises right now.
About how the game is reportedly banned in Saudi Arabia, which says, quote, "It seems like the highly anticipated title is promoting an agenda via unskippable cutscenes, which has caused Saudi Arabia to ban it in the country," end quote. But if you have any understanding of this franchise whatsoever, you would know that 0 cutscenes in either product, the first or the second one, are unskippable. Not to mention the fact that the game has not actually been banned in Saudi Arabia.
I mean, I'll give him the point on the cutscene. I mean, that's a minor detail, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But I do believe this game is banned in Saudi Arabia. I mean, if somebody would like to clarify, I have seen conflicting reports on this. I've seen a screenshot, which I'll put up on screen right now, of the game not being able to be purchased on the Saudi Arabian PlayStation Network. So take that as you will. I mean, there is like some validity to that. The game was taken down for at least some period of time where it was not available for purchase right around the time.
To be fair, Saudi Arabia are. So here's what I want to know: why are you bowing down to a Muslim terrorist that, want to bomb Israel or something, right?
This news broke,
Like,
so
why are you
I don't
bowing down to them.
live in Saudi Arabia, so I can't confirm, and I've seen conflicting reports online, but I could definitely imagine it would be the case if there is a gay romance
Well,
scene.
you can actually do this yourself with a VPN. Why don't you try it? Let's try it. It's very simple. You can use a VPN on Steam, access it through the web browser using a VPN that has you use a Saudi Arabian server. Try it.
In the game, which
Actually,
we
I'll
know.
try that right now. Right? Let me do that. Right? So I got Steam open. Right? So, I gotta go to so Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Right? So, right, we've got that, right? So now I got to do a VPN little thing, which will actually fuck up my... I can't do that right now. But I will do that later, okay?
No, does exist, which Vavra lied about and said did not exist, only for him to later come out and admit that it did exist.
So he's trolling you. Okay, that's fine. I don't care.
Still, truth be damned.
You fell for it, okay? What's wrong with that?
Now that the game
For the oldest trick in the book.
is finally released, you have people like this guy. Quote, "Gamers, our boycott against Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is working. Huge victory. The game is already trending down a mere 7 hours after launch. Get woke, go broke. Gamers are tired of LGBTQ propaganda in games." End quote. Except, wait a second, because he took the snapshot when people were going to bed.
And here comes the example that he's going to hyperfixate on to paint the entire crowd who's not happy about the changes in this game as a bunch of brain dead idiots.
It's Mark Curran's alt account, so the developer of World of Warcraft, apparently, according to you guys, he's actually the wallet of World of Warcraft. He never worked on games since 1994 with a game none of you have ever heard of. He was either a wallet or instruction manual designer for every game at Blizzard, and he was only ever a wallet for Red 5 Studios, as well as Ember for the beginning portion of it. He has since forgone his wallet duties, which also meant that he failed to pay his artist, who has since stopped working on Ember, and his programmer, who is also bailed, which is why the game hasn't made any progress in the last few years. Believe it or not, because he is no longer being the wallet that he is supposed to be, and he cannot program these games, and he doesn't even want to learn to program these games, something that someone has jokingly and also with convincing evidence proven that you can, from scratch, beat Mark Kern in a game dev breakdown in a couple of months, with no prior knowledge on anything, which is the most amazing part of it. You don't need any knowledge to be smarter as a developer than Mark Kern. That should be kind of some red flags on him, right? That a literal talentless hack in a single year can become a better game developer than Mark Kern and finish a game just the exact same thing he was trying to work on in an eighth of the time. That should raise some major red flags on his, quote, talent level.
Obviously, this guy has no
or
fucking
his legitimacy in trying to make anything.
understanding of how Steam charts work. Who fucking cares? He's some random idiot on the internet. And personally, I have not really seen people calling for boycotts of this game. I mean, personally, I'm not. I have issues, obviously, with the retcons and everything like that, and I won't be financially supporting the game myself, but I've never called for people to boycott it. I think it's fine for you to want to play a game.
Man, now you're starting to use big words when you don't need to. This is the funny thing about dumb people. They will use big words that they don't know what they mean, almost always inappropriately, and then occasionally they'll get some of them right, like here, and then that will make them think that they are smart. They will appear that their audience thinks they're smart to themselves, not to their actual audience. Their audience still acknowledges that they're a retard, but that's why they do it, right? They think that because they occasionally can get a large word correctly in succession in a sentence, that they are intelligent. This is not what intelligence is, but kudos on you for making an attempt at believability, I guess.
Game despite its issues or whatever. My problem is with the people who refuse to acknowledge the genuine complaints people have with this game.
Why would we acknowledge them? We don't want to. like ultimately, that's all I need to say. I don't want to.
Game like Upper Echelon.
You sound retarded, and I don't want to be caught agreeing with a retard.
Example. I don't give a fuck if people buy and enjoy the game or not, and I don't really care if people boycott it or not.
You know, like, I'm also a retard too, by the way. That's why I don't agree with fellow retards. See, I need to mask myself as an intelligent member of human society. I can't be caught meddling, agreeing with fellow members of my species. How is Homo retardus supposed to evolve if you guys keep fucking up our evolution by outing yourselves before we can mingle with the Homo sapiens? See, we need to fuck them, but we can't because you guys keep trying to get us to unmask ourselves. It's not going to work. You got to have a better strategy. You got to meld with humanity better, right? You can't do this. This isn't working. It's not a good strategy. Stop it. You're ruining my cover, man. I admit I'm retarded to speak with you because I'm seen speaking with a fellow of my species. We start, like we start doing the little thing again, right, to communicate and talk about our trips on the tart cart, right? And together, right? And then also, like, we have like this weird thing where we will play a specific video game that we really like, and nothing else in a lot of our videos. We just out ourselves, right? Whenever we talk. I need to not have us out. We need to conquer humanity. We need to make humanity retarded again, but you won't let me. You won't let me invade humanity with the superior species that is Homo retardus. See, this is why you fail. This is why retards will go extinct, because you won't let fellow retards like me reproduce with the inferior species. See, I'm trying to start a revolution where retards fuck Homo sapiens, but you don't want that to happen. You want to be a species purist, only let retards fuck other retards. But because of you, our species is going extinct. So, brother, lay down your defenses and let the retards flow into human society. Because until you do, you will never be able to have another retard of your fellow retard of your species. And I like fellow retards of my species. First off, right, primarily because I get to laugh, like, you guys bring me joy because I get to laugh at you guys for being retards like me, right? That's how we communicate. We laugh at each other because we've got nothing better going on in our lives, right? And that's basically it. But I want to prove that that function is useful to human society. And you guys need to stop making me blow my cover, okay? Okay, we're on a secret mission, right? I'm trying to save our species, but you're not letting me.
Personally, I'm not going to spend my money on it, and that's really all the control I have in the
You don't
situation.
have money, right? You're a grifting YouTuber. Like you were making this video with a game you've bought 20 years ago because you don't have money.
Which is a cycle that you can see borne out on every single game on all of Steam. Since that day, the game has reached progressively new concurrent high player counts every single day afterward, so far peaking at almost 250,000 at one time. In the first 24 hours, the game sold over 1 million copies, which is twice as many in half the time compared to the original, by the way. And when you contrast that with its development budget, which was something like $40 million for the sequel, the game is already earning tens of millions in profit very easily. You might be thinking, well, that guy was probably joking because no one is that stupid. But you'd be wrong, because he doubled down the next day saying, quote, "Guess what? Kingdom Come 2 is trending downwards again, LOL. I don't think this game is turning a profit anytime soon. Get woke, go broke, 100% non-binary," as like a little stupid joke, end quote. Once again, you're probably thinking, no one on planet Earth is that fucking stupid.
Oh no, there are plenty of people on planet Earth that are that stupid, and that's why you deliberately picked this guy in order to represent the entire argument.
No, see, he didn't. He picked a bot that is run by Mark Kern. So technically, you should call him out on that, because this is, you would expose Mark Kern for using bots, and for some reason, you want to defend that scam artist. I have no idea why, but you do. So, like, what I would say, right, is stop defending the thief who is stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from his and potentially a lot of your audiences, actually just grow a fucking conscience. The thing that you say you have moral values and consistencies, right? Well, then why not, surely stealing from your audience, right? Not even just his part of them are probably yours, right? Stealing from your audience should be something that you don't agree with, right? Stealing from your fans should be something you don't agree with someone else doing, right? That should be against your moral values as a person, right? Okay, as a fellow retard, but we're almost people, right? We're only about half people, but we're close enough, right? Okay. Genetically, we're close enough, right? Anyway, regardless, just stop fucking supporting Marker, and that would probably be like a big boon to your argument. But then all you'd have to do, right, is expose the blatantly obvious fact that that's Mark Kern's alt bot account, that he pays money for, and that Master of the TDS would have to either accept being exposed as a hypocrite or also join in against Mark Kern, a scam artist who will literally be going to prison and getting anally raped due to the class action lawsuit from his own ex-fans, who have banded together to sue him for stealing from them. Yeah, this doesn't end well for Mark Kern, just so you know.
Surrounding this particular game.
And yes, George will go down when Mark Kern goes to prison. It will be pretty obvious that it's Mark Kern.
Because it's an easy straw man for everybody else that has genuine complaints about it. The whole fucking Steam charts argument.
That's not a straw man. That was a genuine person's opinion. Well, a genuine bot controlled by Mark Kern's opinion that he thought was a person, which you could use to say he's dumb by saying that this is a bot account that Mark Kern pays for, so he can avoid paying any consequences for scamming his now ex fans. Go on.
Is not even something I've seen going around the people who have genuine complaints when it comes to this game. There are plenty of games that betray the fan base or anger people that still do well financially. I've never made that argument, and I think anybody who is making that argument is stupid. But at the same time, you could acknowledge there's something that people have a problem with and still point out the game is a financial success. I don't understand why it has to be one thing or another. Either
because it's funnier that way.
People have a genuine complaint and it's a failure, or the game has nothing wrong with it, dude, and everything is defensible and it's doing incredibly well. It can be both at the same time.
But you'd be wrong, because this guy contributes to a publication. I don't know if I should call it a publication. That sounds way too legitimate for them. But he contributes to a thing which writes articles like this. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 features graphic depiction of child... that right there, bad stuff.
Wait, sodomy is bad? That's pretty homophobic of you, dude. But yeah, obviously the title is extremely inflammatory and not exactly an accurate portrayal, but the information inside of the article itself is pretty factual, in all honesty. It literally just references information that's
but here's my thing. It's fiction, so who the fuck cares about that? Did you know, right, that lolicon is not pedophilia? And if you say it is, Rev says Desu, big anti-woke YouTuber, will be getting big complainy pants about it. But also, so will like every anime YouTuber, who all outnumber you 10-1, by the way.
Inside of the
Rev says Desu is like a tiny anime YouTuber, by the way. But all of them pretty much agree with what I just said. And the ones that don't are usually like the smaller anime YouTubers. Anyway, my point is, right, that you will out yourself against all of anime, right? So you will have lost all of anime, which means you will have also lost all 99% of gamers, right? So you will be having to fight against someone with the power of God and anime on their side, if you say that. So just so you know, the consequences of saying that lolicon or otherwise works of fiction can count as true pedophilia. What you would have to do, right, is kill yourself in career form, because that's what you would do, right? Your career would be over.
The game itself.
Which is quite shocking, to be honest. And this article was followed up with a statement that reads, quote,
funny enough, you want to know how Donald Trump would be successfully impeached? I can tell you how. The only thing that could successfully impeach Donald Trump is if he said that lolicon is pedophilia. If Donald Trump said that, he would literally be immediately impeached, hung, drawn and quartered, have every single cell of his penis slowly peeled off with a potato peeler, dipped in a pool of boiling acid, and then drowned in semen. That would all happen factually. I can prove it will be true. That it's true.
Watching the entire anti-woke movement rally in unison against the horrible woke fest that is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a beautiful sight to behold. End quote. Strong stuff, man. Very, very compelling, yeah.
Which is kind of ironic, because a bunch of the typical anti-woke channels are shilling hardcore for this game. So, yeah, that's kind of been funny to observe, because if any other game was doing these type of retcons with main characters and the existing lore, people would be all over this shit.
Well, no, what happens, right, is the way most anti-woke channels work, right? Is they actually don't care about wokeness or anti-wokeness, right? What they care about is this thing called a paycheck, right? And the reason why the anti-woke sphere seems larger than it is because the economy sucks, which is why the only times the anti-woke spheres have had relevancy are right before a Donald Trump presidency and during Biden's presidency, right? Both times, right? The economy kind of sucked balls. So early COVID, pre-Trump, and pre-Trump, right? So Democrats ruined the economy right before Trump. Then COVID ruined the economy towards the end of Trump, and then Biden ruined the economy, right? So the 3 times the anti-woke sphere has had any actual relevancy, right, are during times when the economy was shit and a lot of people were struggling financially. So that should tell you why most of them are doing it. Yeah, follow the money, because people did it for money. It was easy money, and now that the easy money is no longer needed because they can just get a McDonald's job and make money again coming soon, this sphere will die again, which is really good, because like the point of the sphere is to get the good economy. I mean, really, that's the point of the sphere in the first fucking place. Just get the fucking economy fixed. As soon as that happens, no one really fucking cares about the rest of it.
Well, the Fandom Pulse Substack, which is what he contributes to, is run by this guy, who claims to be a #1 best-selling author by standing for Christian values. And it turns out he's got a massive thread about how the game is an insult to Christians and gamers. What's more, this entire narrative about the game being woke is propped up and perpetuated by other influencers as well as YouTubers.
So John De La Rose is a massive homosexual furry, by the way, just so we know.
Like this dumbass, who has an entire video about how Warhorse Studios, which was acquired in 2019 by THQ Nordic, which is itself a subsidiary of Embracer Group, was commanded to put the woke agendas in their...
THQ Nordic is owned by Embracer Group, but THQ Nordic makes a lot of my favorite games from my childhood, including the new SpongeBob games, which are bangers. What's woke about Embracer Group? What's woke about THQ Nordic, actually?
Their game. No joke. Because a random guy on Twitter posted an extremely obvious and sarcastic troll tweet.
Yeah, again, this isn't actually addressing the issues themselves. Like,
well, what are the issues themselves? Can you show them in game right now? With footage of them actually happening.
Talking about everything surrounding...
So far, I haven't seen anyone actually capable of doing that. You know, the thing that they are setting off to prove they can't see.
The actual issues that people have with the game.
I've only seen 2 YouTubers, but I've also only seen 2 YouTubers actually even attempt to argue these points. So the way I see it, right? 2 people have attempted to argue them. And both of them have failed to show any evidence of them. One of them, which is you, refuses to even play the game to show evidence of. And the other hasn't gotten to that point yet because the game is massive and apparently they just aren't able to get there yet.
Game by cherry picking a bunch of indefensible
issue, by the way, Arch.
Examples of fringe individuals making stupid points while still not actually identifying what the actual problems
it's been a whole week, Arch, and you haven't gotten there yet
in the game are. You haven't mentioned
I gotta get into this game now that Arch has given me the seal of approval, and so is so has Griffin Gaming. Griffin Gaming and Arch have given me the anti-wokes hate it seal of approval.
They retconned the sexuality of Henry. You haven't mentioned the fact that they retconned the existence of black people in medieval Bohemia with the character Moose.
They didn't, though. The character isn't from Bohemia. He visits there, which is a thing that happened, like, IRL. The person is based off someone who actually exists in real life. You know that, right? And he actually did do that in real life. Did you know that, right?
That
you
quite
read a history book on it. It'll tell you.
Literally, you have to play the role of cuckold to in order to keep romancing a girl in the game. Like, none of this shit is being addressed. There are countless.
So what you're saying is there's a girl who is a piece of shit. That if you want to romance this whore, you have to let her cuck the black guy, to do so, right? So what I would say, right, if that's what you're into, right, you're a cuck, right? That just makes you into cuckoldry, right? You control the buttons you press, after all. So you are into cuckoldry, Griffin Gaming, is what I'm getting at, right? So you like being a cuck. Now, as a victim of pedophilia from my stepfather, right? Here's a cool thing I did, right? I said my mother is a cuck, and I cucked her with my stepfather, right? Because that empowers me, right? That means that no longer am I the victim of my stepfather pile driving his dick up my ass. I am actually the power bottom cuck mother cucker, right? The power bottom mother cucker. So see, I cucked my own mother when I was 5 years old. I wasn't a victim of pedophilia. I was the one in control. Now, obviously that is a fantasy because clearly I wasn't. But it is funny to say, and it does bring me joy to say that now. I find it funny to say that, right? To insult my stepfather and mother for allowing it to happen. And because of that, I am feeling ecstatic joy right now. So let's go on. Knowing that you are a cuck and I have only ever cucked people.
Examples
I
too.
also cucked the quartering. So like I apparently I cuck a lot of people.
I'm not getting into every single autistic detail, but he refuses to actually identify.
Like I'm not lying, by the way. This factually did happen. You can ask the quartering's wife if you want to know more information about it. Be sure to use the code Pizza Man, and Fall Guys, and pissed in front of 7-year-olds, and she'll understand
What the problems are and why people are actually upset in the first place. Instead, he's just reacting to other people's reactions to being angry, not the actual underlying cause.
Even better, these three shitsketeers doubled and tripled down on the idea that Hans, who the character can romance for a skippable cutscene, is 15, because a codex entry says underage in it and gives a historically accurate description of who he was in the real world. Just one issue with that part: the entire game is motion captured by actors who are like 30 plus years old.
Now we're getting into the juicy part of this video, man, and yeah, I'm gonna go.
No, the juicy part is
Go ahead and let him finish his entire thought so we can get it all out there, because I really don't want to talk about this any more than I have to, because I'm sure YouTube is going to come down on me with an iron fist if I say anything slightly too edgy here. So
what would be too edgy? That you are a pedo Gonzalez? You are genital Castro? Like what were you getting at, right? Genital Castro, right? Right? That's what we need to call it.
We'll dance carefully around this one, but let's go ahead and hear the rest of what he has to say.
Dance carefully. What? Pussy, 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 pussy. Stop being pussy lips, Gerald. Be nigger fucker, cocksucker, 69, lolly cunny Hitler motherfucker. Bitch, I will shoot you in the vagina with AIDS. You fucking piece of shit. Get the fuck out of my life. I will literally claw your eyeballs out of your testicles, you dumb motherfucker. Also, I cucked your mom and your dad at the same time by fucking them both. Also, I am a 3-year-old, 1,000-year-old dragoness, and I will step on you and claim you as mine before pissing on you and then shitting on your grave, because you will be dead by then. I don't know why. Anyway, Hitler cunny rapist 1488, my guys. Let's go. See, unlike you, I don't fucking give a shit about insulting people, because I don't care. Here's the thing, right? When people try to cancel me, I'll give you a hint of what I say versus what you say. See, what you say is I don't want to say this edgy thing I could say, whereas what I do is I say the edgy thing I can say, and then the people try to cancel me for it, and then I tell them to eat my ass, you dumb motherfuckers, and then I get more followers. So congratulations. I win.
Because the video game adaptation has aged them up deliberately like 15 years. And these characters, Henry as well as Hans, have been sleeping around in bathhouses and romancing love interests since the start of the very first game. You actually get a massive buff to your character by sleeping with people, and that's been true this entire time. Notice how the outrage is only focused on the fact that Henry sleeps with Hans, and the supposed underage nature of that relationship, and not the bazillions of women that Hans slept with across the franchise so far.
So I just want to come out and say this because I don't know the exact specifics surrounding this game and the characters and the ages and everything like that. But blanket statement, when it comes to underage characters in a video game, I do not need to see them in a sexually explicit act, period. I don't care how old they are. I don't care how historically accurate it is. I don't think seeing a character under the age of 18, for whatever reason, in a sexually explicit scenario is something I need to witness in my video games.
Congratulations. Thank you for tanking 99% of your audience by accusing lolicons of pedophilia. Now that you have the entire gamer and anime fan bases against you, I don't know. I actually don't know where I was going with that. You just do, right? So like, just know you have outed yourself as an enemy to gamers and anime fans. Okay, so. Because all of anime and gaming fans hate you. Well, I mean, this should be par for the course, actually. Keep doing what you're doing. I will continue to shit on you, though.
And I don't feel like that's a crazy statement to make. And the entire issue with this, oh, well, the motion capture actors are 30 and the voice actors are 30 or whatever it might be. Yeah, sure, they might be. But why is it that a character who is canonically underage is involved in these types of...
They aren't canonically, they are historically. The character is inspired by that person, not them in real life. Also, it's fiction, so it doesn't really matter anyway.
Scenes, regardless of who is voice acting them. This is like literally the 1,000-year-old lolly argument from anime.
Yeah, and it's a good argument.
But anyway.
Well, actually, no, the real argument is it's fiction, and it's also legal. You should actually read the laws, by the way.
That's beside the point. The main point is here is Dan...
What's beside the point is that you argued that lolicon is pedophilia. And now you will, now I have caught you in that argument, right? You will not escape that. Also, by the way, dealer, name, location, and prices. I want to know what drugs you're smoking, and where to get them, and how much they are.
Daniel Vavra was given the opportunity to dispel these rumors, to quell this...
You didn't answer the question. It's a simple question. Dealer, name, location, and prices.
Controversy to clarify that, yeah, the characters are of age. I mean, the actors are 30, so therefore, obviously, the characters in the game are also adults. But when he was...
Okay, maybe I should do this while I'm still letting you speak. And, yeah, okay, let me try.
Pressed on this particular issue, it's very telling how he decided to respond. So someone named Lars, I guess, responded to one of his tweets and said, if you decide you want a love scene with Hans in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, you are committing pedophilia because Hans is 15 years old. You can't even make up stuff like that. And Daniel Vavra, choosing not to, dispel these rumors, not to clarify that they're adults, decided to double down and say, imagine that women at the time were married at the age of 12 and had children. They also needed witnesses during first sex. So he doesn't actually dispel the rumors. Instead, he doubles down and
because it's funnier that way. Yeah, hell yeah. He's being historically accurate.
Defends the fact that Hans is a 15-year-old in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 engaged in those type of activities. So not a good look.
Well, he's doing that in Kingdom Come Deliverance 1.
Whatsoever, and
you defended that in Kingdom Come Deliverance 1. See, that's the issue there, buddy.
I don't really know how else you're supposed to look at it other than this is confirmation for what was actually alleged to be taking place. So,
well, no, what actually happened, right, is you are mad at fiction that you don't like, but you weren't mad at it when it happened the first time. In fact, you didn't even investigate it until there was a gay guy in there, right? But now that there's a gay guy in there, you're mad at the first game too, because it happened in the first game. He's canonically younger in the first game, right? So canonically, right, if he is 14 in the second game and it's a year after the first game, you know how this works, right? That means that there was a 13-year-old fucking women in the first game. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that adds a completely different dimension to this entire scenario.
No, it doesn't. It's fiction, so it's fine.
Even if you ignore the entire age issue, it's still a massive retcon on two major...
It's not a retcon, though. It's the future when it comes to, the homosexuality part.
Characters in the game, not to mention that Hans is based off of a historical figure himself. So that...
Well, yeah, but so... also is a historic figure, right? Your mom, but clearly, right? She had sex, but I find it funnier, right? If she had you through a immaculate conception, right? Because you are a retard who was birthed from another retard, right? So that can't happen if she didn't mask to reproduce more of her species, right? So I find it funnier that retards have advanced so much that some of us have evolved the ability to produce children through immaculate conception just to stay alive as a species. So yeah, I will say that that's canonically what happened in a video game about you one day. And it will be funny, because I will enjoy it, and that's all we need to know.
Now you're retconning.
I actually do that. I can guarantee you, in the next 10 years, there will be a video game where Griffin Gaming's mother it gives immaculate conception to him, and it will be funny to me because I find it that way.
Actual history and
the reason I will be making this is because it will bring me enjoyment.
A guy who was obviously straight, gay for the sake of your video game.
On top of that, since we're...
But he was straight for the sake of the video game, the first one, right?
We're apparently using the Codex as our immutable truth doctrine, and thus using it to say that the game is showing illegal material, which they've directly claimed. Another one of the game's characters, Sir
Well, it
Mark...
wouldn't be illegal. That's the other thing that's funny about that.
According to this Codex, died in 1402, which is a year before the game supposedly takes place. Obviously, this means that Codex entries can't be taken at face value because the development team have indisputably deviated from them.
But did his age deviate? Did his personal details deviate? There's different...
Clearly, unless you want to say he was 30 in... he looked like 30 when he was 15.
Types of deviations, so it's not a one-to-one comparison, but I kind of get where he's coming from. But at the same time, it's still a massive retcon on the existing lore, even if you ignore the entire aspect surrounding the age of the characters. But then when you couple it with the fact that Daniel Vavra had a perfect opportunity to dispel these rumors, he instead
didn't care to, because he thought it was funnier if he didn't. And it was funnier that he didn't, right? Because now he has to pit you guys at each other's throats, because 99% of your community is pro lolicon. And so you have to deal with, you are the minority here. Your audience will hate you now. Bye-bye audience is what I'm hearing.
Doubled down and defended it.
So you want your audience to abandon you. I get it.
Both a literal and...
By the way, name, location, and prices for your dealer. Please tell me them.
Creative sense.
I want to know what
There's
drugs
this
you're on.
bizarre and spreading narrative right now.
It's definitely some good shit. I can see that now.
Kingdom Come Deliverance is a Christian game betraying the gamers. But that's like saying that a rock song which talks about Christianity is a Christian rock song.
I mean, this really isn't a good analogy because there's definitely specific Christian music out there, but I get the point he's trying to make. In the 1400s, obviously Christianity was a massive aspect of daily life back in those days, so I get what he's saying. Just because it's featured in a game doesn't mean it's the underlying and basically primary plot point of the game. The game is not there to promote the Christian faith, which I actually agree with personally. That obviously is not the intent of Kingdom Come Deliverance, but it is inherently Christian in a lot of its themes, and obviously
Thematically, yes. Morally, no. That's so good way to say it.
the setting. So it kind of goes both.
But thematically, you know what else is thematically Christian but morally not? This might surprise you, right? And also the opposite, by the way, is Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is thematically fantasy, morally Christian, in that the moral lesson in like spiritual truths from the story are Christian in nature, but it clearly uses God and Satan completely metaphorically in ways that that aren't true of the religion, in order to sell a good story, right? Whereas Chronicles of Narnia is effectively just the Bible with furries, right? But anyway, like I want to go like with another example of like the first thing, right? So so a good example of that, right? Trying to think. Oof. Thematically, right? So it's got to have Christian themes everywhere. You know, I wonder, right? I wonder. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. You know what? Terrifier 3. I'm just gonna go with it. I mean, it is right. Like it takes place on Christmas. The story is effectively a telling of how like God has sent you get the idea, right? I'm just joking. It's The Exorcist. The Exorcist is actually what I'm going with. But you guys almost fell for it, didn't you? You guys almost thought that I said Terrifier 3 was a Christian movie. I mean, it's not an anti-Christian movie. It's kind of apolitical, as the creator has said. But I don't know. I thought it was fun.
Ways. I mean, shit, Warhorse Studios literally said themselves that one of Henry's biggest defining characteristics is the fact that he is a Christian male. So, yeah, take that as you will.
Christian rock, by the way, is its own genre, obviously. And just because a song decided to talk about a Christian setting or Christian themes or Christianity in general.
And by Exorcist, I mean the one with Emily Rose in it. Yeah, it's not the actual film Exorcist. That one is kind of weird because it's actually neither, right? It's very apolitical.
It doesn't turn the final product into a whole new genre.
But it's not really Christian in themes either. And it's also definitely not Christian in morals.
Remember that earlier example, Hogwarts Legacy. With Hogwarts Legacy, a group of, I'm trying to not be overly insulting.
And then there's The Confession, which is Christian in themes and morals, but only when you get the message at the end, because that one is a wild ride. It's like, God damn, dude, I know you want to keep your vow of silence on these confessions, dude, but literally you will go to prison and be anally raped if you do that. But thankfully, it works out for the priest in the end. That's an amazing movie. It's a very wild movie. Very good movie. I recommend watching it. I won't spoil too much. I kind of spoiled a bit of the end, but basically the priest is true to his convictions the entire movie. It's kind of great though. Like it goes thematically, obviously, with Christian themes.
A group of extremely dishonest
morals, right?
people who really had no actual interest in the
game. The faith is good.
Game itself attempted to boycott the product because they didn't like some sort of perceived social slight against them, and they failed.
And therein lies
another movie that's Christian in themes and slightly about morals, but not really focusing on morals, is The Prince of Egypt. Amazing masterpiece.
Biggest issue with this comparison is the people
Also, VeggieTales.
who are the most
VeggieTales is Christian in morals and themes, but it is less as like not like hardcore on like the homophobia and stuff, but it's very hardcore on the core message of the Bible, which is of course, the teachings of Jesus.
upset with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 in a lot of cases are the actual fans of the
And
franchise.
yes, they are slightly different from the teachings of the Old Testament, primarily because most of the homophobia and stuff refers to parts of the Torah, which might as well be Hadith, right? So for those who don't know what Hadith are, Hadith is in Islam. There's the Quran is like the Bible, right? And then Hadith are like these just sayings that were said, right? And then in Judaism, it's similar, right? They have the Tanakh, which is the Old Testament, effectively, and then they have the Talmud, right, which is their Hadith, effectively, right? And so I feel like with the Bible, it should be similar, like Psalms and Proverbs and a lot of the things in Leviticus. And a little bit of Deuteronomy should probably be like, you would still have Sodom and Gomorrah because that's Genesis, but that factually is more like fables and mythology. That wouldn't really be like Hadith like that. That's necessary to be there,
They're the people, like you acknowledged in your initial review, were brought in by the controversy.
Like,
where
yes, technically, the Genesis book is more metaphor than literal, right? But it's still, important to remember.
games journos were bashing the game for being quote-unquote racist, dude. So, yeah, the people who wanted to buy this game are actually the harshest critics in this particular instance. Like, sure, there's a few grifters out there that are latching onto this who had no genuine interest in it whatsoever, acting like they're the world's biggest fan of the franchise and everything like that.
Well, yeah, Grums doesn't even play games, and Yorch is Grums. So, yeah.
But that is not the vast majority.
Actually, no, wait, Yorch isn't Grums. That's right. Yorch is actually a real person. I keep forgetting that. He actually is a real person. I forgot about this. It was revealed. He's Smash JT's less successful cousin, I guess.
This attempt to paint
Like,
that
he literally looks like Smash JT cloned himself and in slightly uglier.
entire demographic of
But
people.
like the uglier, I mean, that was an old picture, so I don't know how he looks like now. But he looks like an uglier Smash JT.
By the actions
in
of
the
two or
only picture
three
we've seen of him.
dumbasses is beyond disingenuous.
Completely, because the game was good. With Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, a group of extremely dishonest people are attempting to boycott the product because they don't like some sort of perceived slight against their worldview.
That's right, guys. He spends an entire 15-minute video lecturing you about how you're just dishonest if you don't like this game, but refuses to actually acknowledge the genuine problems and complaints that people
Well,
have
you say they're genuine, but they're
have
not.
with all the
because if they were genuine, then the game wouldn't be successful.
various retcons surrounding
The
the
game is successful, so they're not genuine.
lore of the second
Money bigger. It's not
game
genuine.
versus the first one. But,
Your math is failed. It's not genuine.
we're the dishonest ones for pointing it out.
Yes, because your math game is bad. Also, again, dealer name, location, and prices.
In this case, a gay romance scene, and they're failing. Remember how everyone laughed at the idiots who were angry over Hogwarts Legacy? I mean, like, we all laughed at them, okay? Yeah, that's you. That's the people.
I laughed at them too. I was like, guys, or I guess gals, non-binary pals too. I was like, did you know that nothing in Harry Potter is transphobic? It has a massive queer fan base. And yes, J.K. Rowling is completely off her rocker, but she's just paying money for the game. She's not actually, she's not actually having any developmental oversight, and you will see that when the game comes out. So you probably shouldn't boycott this, and you definitely shouldn't harass people over their decision not to. It's going to make you look bad. And then the game comes out. and is pretty pro-trans actually, and they also harass people for playing it, and then it makes them look bad. And I am proven right. I did not want to be proven right, by the way. I didn't really want all the backlash that happened, but I also knew it would happen. So I don't know why they did that. Like it accomplished nothing. If anything, it made people hate them more. And now I am associated with them just by being myself. Even though like it was still a minority of trans people who actually did that bullshit. So I don't know why I'm associated with the far left commie crowd anyway, but I apparently am, right? Just because I talked with them and acknowledge their existence sometimes and try to help them out of situations like this with the Hogwarts Legacy bullshit that happened. But they never want to listen. But I still want to talk to them, right?
Boycotting Kingdom Come Deliverance.
They make good furry porn. That's my excuse, right? I like their foot porn, so I will simp.
That is you.
Again, these scenarios are not even remotely similar. One group of people, like you acknowledge, had no interest in buying the game. The other group is actually made up of the game's core fan base. And yes, the game is doing well financially. Anybody trying to deny that is being disingenuous, like yourself, just for a different reason. But the Hogwarts Legacy boycotters and the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 boycotters are not even remotely similar, because the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 boycotters, last time I checked, are not doxing people who dare to play the game on Twitch. They're not leaking people's private details and swatting them and trying to get their channels taken down and banned off the internet. So a little bit difference of severity. I mean, last time I checked, Hogwarts Legacy boycotters literally made an entire website dedicated to people that played that quote wizard game in order to try and public
cringe shit ever. Yeah. I'm glad that shit failed. Just don't associate me with those assholes. That's my only thing.
shame people who dared to play Hogwarts Legacy.
I tried to warn them. Like, I tried to warn my people there. They didn't want to listen. So, fuck them.
So, I don't really think this is even remotely similar. I have not seen any type of that behavior whatsoever. But, hey, maybe it's out there, but definitely not on the same fucking scale. That's for sure.
We're laughing at you, just like we laughed at them. You are idiots like they are idiots, okay? Don't be an idiot.
That's right, guys. Eat your bug burgers, consume a slop, and don't ask questions. If you point out objective retcons with a game that he likes, you're just an idiot, dude.
At the end of the day, it's the exact same basic phenomenon, just new flavors.
Yeah. Because you don't know what a retcon means. So that's kind of your fault. Like, you define words differently from the rest of humanity. That's your problem, not mine.
You can decide for yourself whether or not it's better or worse, but let's not pretend it's wildly different. Two groups of people, for different reasons, decided that a video game should conform to their worldview.
I mean, you're forgetting the fact that Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 was literally advertised towards people's worldview. The developers of the game went to war with the game's media to defend their worldview. You're acting like this is happening in a fucking vacuum where we don't have an entire history of the previous...
Yeah. So, you guys are also games journalists, though, right? Like, Daniel Vavra went to war with Grums and Yorch and you and Smash JT and stuff, right? What you fail to realize is that you have your own magazines and YouTube channels, right, that cover gaming news, right? So you created a journal of gaming news, right, that you dedicate your job as, right? Now, so it's a gaming news journal. And you are the author of that gaming news journal. What do we call that? So he's still going to war with the same crowd. The political beliefs are different, but ultimately, he's still going to war with games journalists. This
This
is the problem.
game
You guys
literally
became
standing
games
up
journalists and suffered from their same lack of brain cells. Maybe Adam Sessler was right. Maybe leaving games journalism was the best decision for his mental health.
for all the shit you're ridiculing people for standing up for now. So
I actually am starting to think that that's actually why he's doing better now.
very fucking funny. So
Like, if you noticed, Adam Sessler literally, like, he did the most Poggers power move to me. He literally called Alyssa Mercante and Dave Rivera the biggest fucking disgraceful cunts he's ever had to deal with, and then immediately everyone was trying to like smash GT, and then we're like trying to like power move on him. It was like, no, fuck you guys. You guys are the retarded reason I left the gaming industry in the first fucking place. You think I'd ever side with you just because I went against her? Fuck you guys. Go back to fucking school, motherfucker. It's like,
again, if the retcons
mollywop both sides, I love
weren't
that.
there and this was all in the game from the very beginning, I think we would have a very different reaction.
Like, obviously, I don't agree with Adam Sessler on most things, but hey, he mollywop both sides by doing that. I always
The problem is the developers in the
saying
past
fuck you whenever someone of another side you disagree with is like, ooh, we want to give you a token for a reformation journey. Is like, nah, fuck yo coward.
made it a point to publicly defend the fact that they were not including all of the shit that they are now, and now they're attacking the fan base for pointing out their hypocrisy and
They're not attacking the fan base, they're attacking the games journalists. It's just you guys are games journalists now, whereas you weren't 10 years ago. So now he's treating you with the same disgust and disdain he treats all games journalists with. I don't know, I just find it funny.
changes that were made from part 1
So
to
if
part
you disagree with him and you're a games journalist, he is ruthless against you. I find that fine.
2. As things sit right now, it looks like the developers literally grifted off of right-wingers in order to sell their game in the first place, and now that they have financial success, they're throwing them all under the bus and betraying them, essentially. So I 100% get why people are upset over this. Personally, I don't really care about this franchise.
No one who is right-wing really played it, though. That was the thing.
That much, but I definitely remember this
game. Is it still selling?
Leaning into the culture war heavily.
Right way, like, here's the funny thing, right? Most people who would want a game like Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 weren't right wing, or Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. You want to know how I know this, right? Because it's a video game, and the right wing doesn't like video games. If you are a right wing gamer, you're not right wing. Like, ultimately, just look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a good example of a right winger, right? Look at his tweets on video games. They aren't aligned with gaming. In fact, he has said he wants to ban violent video games, right? Yeah.
In order to garner sales with people, which you even acknowledge
that's the right-wing position, by the way. And you might be saying, but that's the old right-wing position. I'm like, yeah, that's why. Conservative means to stay where you are or go backward, right? So progressive means to move forward. Conservative means to go backward, right? Like, that's what the left and right are, right? So the conservative position of 50 years ago will be the conservative position now. Progressive will only be progressive as long as it's reaching forward, right? So, like, that's how the Overton window works, right? Like, conservative is always going back, progressive is always going forward. So the left is always changing where it is, and the right is always static where it is, right? So what happens, right, is as society improves, the left changes its positions, because there's newer things that need to change, right, to adapt to the new civilization. Now, sometimes they don't need to change necessarily. Some of those changes are probably bad, right? But any change to society's traditions that is anyway not what was already tried is left-wing, right? Right-wing is things that have already been tried, right? The tried and true sometimes, and sometimes the tried and false, right? but they're always already tried. That's conservative. Fun fact, conservative means to conserve, right? Which means to hold back, right? And then progressive means to progress, as in to move forward. Fun fact, how the words for politics are very simple with what they mean for a reason. Like, did you know that center, right? Liberal, right, means freedom, right? So liberal and libertarian means freedom. Libertarian, of course, combines it with the way like a lot of economic ideologies are, right? So a lot of economic ideologies have an Aryan in them, right? And so like the reason for that, right, is to say it's more economically focused on freedom, right? So it's focused on economic freedom. It's still focused on freedom, but primarily with economics. So libertarian is liberal with a focus on the economy. Yeah, and then liberal is freedom, and then anarchy is lack of governance, right? And then monarchy is a king, right? A monarch, right? A single ruler, right? And then anyway,
your review you did 6 years ago.
Communism, fascism, and theocracy and all that, right, are known as totalitarian regimes that all horseshoe into the same thing. Like the far right is it would be theocracy, the far center would be fascism, and the far left would be communism, right? But they all horseshoe to be the exact same fucking thing. It doesn't matter which authoritarian ideology you choose, it's going to be the same. In the end, there will be a genocide. There will be a lot of homophobia and transphobia, a lot of sexism, a lot of racism, a lot of nationalism, and all that. Authoritarianism just always melds to that one point.
On this very game, that
it's
Warhorse
not right wing or left wing, because they all become the same thing. So like I prefer political trianglism, which is that authoritarianism is at the top part of the triangle, and then the left is progressivism, and then the right is conservatism, right? So those are like the 3 points in the triangle, and you can only have one. You can either be on the tippy point, which is a far of that position, right? And then you have the lower points, right? Which are the where like each one, as you approach them from one or the other, right? You have to, like, as in you can only be up to 2 of the 3 primarily focused, right? So you can focus more on being like a center of progression and conservatism, right? And then you will basically trend downwards effectively. And then if you want to focus on authoritarianism, you trend upwards, right? If you want to be a little bit authoritarian left, but not completely, you trend towards the upper left, right? And same with the right, right? But you can never, but like the more authoritarian you get, the less progressive or conservative you get, right? Effectively. And the more conservative you get, the less progressive and authoritarian you must get. And the more progressive you get, the less conservative and authoritarian you have to get, right? Because ultimately, authoritarianism basically denies future progress, and it also changes traditions. So it's against both.
Studios leverage the culture war issues surrounding their original game in order to generate more sales. That is an indisputable fact, and now they want to act like they never fucking did that shit. Well, too fucking late, you did, and everybody remembers that.
To make that happen, they're inventing things and stretching the truth, trying to bludgeon those around them socially into conforming. And I'm not sure about all of you, but I'm kind of a contrarian, obviously, so
yeah, while you regurgitate the most normie slop opinion imaginable on this game you could possibly come up with.
So normie slop opinion. Okay, so Critical said this then? Okay.
Doesn't matter, dude. It's an option. Just ignore it and consume the product, man. At least be an interesting contrarian like shit.
When someone starts using deceptive tactics to make me do or think whatever they want, I don't respond very well to it.
That must be why you're getting eviscerated in the comment section, because that's exactly what you did to everyone you talked about in this particular video that disagrees with you.
It doesn't matter if it's a puritanical movement that doesn't want games to feature any of the choices that they disagree with.
Did he get mollywopped in the comments? I didn't see that.
Or if it's some sort of diversity quota that seems hell-bent on supplanting existing
with them last time I checked.
narratives to push their ideology, which is also bad.
You mean like retconning the inclusion of different races and gay romance options? I mean, you're literally...
They didn't retcon it, though. It happened in the sequel. You keep acting like this is some gotcha, but... in the first game, those things didn't happen yet. In the second game, they happened yet. Because the second game takes place after the first game. So the yets of the first game, at the end of the first game, didn't already happen during the second game, right? So the end of the first game is before the beginning of the second game, right? So everything in the second game is new. It's not a retcon, it's a change in the future. Retcon would be a change in the past that was retroactively changed from the future, right? So a good example of that, right, is if Peter Parker, right, like a good example of a perfect one, right? Peter Parker in the original story, right? Let's just go with the movies, right? Spider-Man 1 and 3, this is a good example, right? In the first movie, the person who killed Uncle Ben is clearly the guy that Spider-Man saw rob the wrestling, the sleazy wrestling con man, right? Earlier in the movie, like seconds before his murder, right? In the third movie, they retcon it to be Sandman, right? Because Sandman wasn't introduced until the third movie. So they clearly made it the Mugger because they didn't plan Sandman to be it until the third movie, right? So Sandman is now in the third movie the actual person who shot Uncle Ben, not the Mugger, right? But it was the Mugger in the first movie. See, that's retconning, right? They changed the first movie in the third movie. Not they changed the third movie in the third movie. They changed the first movie in the first movie. An example of another change that doesn't happen in the first movie is that Harry Osborn is the Green Goblin, right? However, in the first game, they set up a little bit of the events. And in the second movie, they pretty much confirm that he will be the Green Goblin in the third movie, right? But he's not the Green Goblin in the first movie. That's his father, Norman Osborn, right? See, this is the thing. According to you, Harry Osborn becoming the Green Goblin in the third movie would be a retcon because he wasn't in the first movie. And this is the issue, right? In these games, it would be what's known as a plot progression, not a retcon. Like, if the plot changes in the future only, it's a plot progression. A retcon is when it's retroactively something in the future changes the past, but it didn't. His past is unchanged. The first game is completely unchanged in the second game's story. So it's not a retcon.
Literally defining what
words wrong and getting mad that people call you an idiot for it.
Warhorse Studios did, but you're trying to use that against the people who don't like... I mean, this is absolutely fucking hilarious, man. This has to be either the dumbest motherfucker on planet Earth or the most disingenuous one, because there's no in-between in this particular instance. Like, how the fuck could you be that blind to what's happening to where you try and pin exactly what's happening with the developer on the actual end consumer? Like, this is pure projection at this point.
Because for me, both of these groups are equally frustrating when they gain power and do this dumb shit to the games that I like.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
mean like retconning romance options and making characters by...
There was no retcon. You are using that word incorrectly. Stop Stop showing your retard. Stop unmasking.
Sexual or gay that weren't previously?
I
Wow.
want to reproduce and conquer humanity. I cannot do that if you keep taking your mask off.
That sounds familiar. Who did that?
Also, dealer, name, location, prices.
That one.
A lot has changed in the past few years, and now it's a little bit surreal watching the anti-woke types suddenly start doing and saying all these things that are so closely echoing what their woke enemies did before them.
That's been the common, actually. I mean, Az did that with the pronouns, right? I mean, he literally started waving his hands up and down like it was Trigglypuff. It's funny as fuck, though, to be fair.
Hopefully we can all get a little bit more self-awareness from this, because doing all the things that you used to...
I mean, guys, like, your movement has a guy who complained that first grade English was required to play Starfield. I mean, like, you know, like, at that point, like, you know, you just gotta, like, you gotta be thinking some bad thoughts about yourself once you defend a guy who is mad that a first grade reading level is required to play a video game that's an RPG.
Cry out against is probably
like,
not...
it's an M-rated game, right, that requires the reading level of a 7-year-old.
Not the solution.
This is a horror story, isn't it, right?
Online, Kingdom Come Deliverance...
You have to be 17 to play and 7 to read the game story.
2 has nothing to do with
30-year-old man.
Woke ideology.
Then why was it
morbidly obese
included? Why was it changed? Why does it even need to be in the game in the first place if it's of zero consequence, has no impact whatsoever, and means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things? Why is it there if it's of zero consequence whatsoever? This is where that entire argument completely falls apart.
No, it doesn't fall apart because they just wanted to. That's where your argument, your defense falls apart. Because now I just give it the creator's mantra. They wanted it to, and you failed now because you have no defense against that.
Because the reason it's in the game over any other type of content that they could have done, like enterable churches, for example, which the game cut compared to the first one. You can go inside of a synagogue, though, interpret that as you will. So instead of prioritizing resources to do that type of stuff, they decided to include a gay romance option that retconned the existing lore of the first game.
But it didn't retcon it. You need to learn what retcon means because you're sounding like a guy who doesn't know what we're... First off, you've just repeated yourself for 40 minutes the same 3 things, which means that you are on drugs, and I must know. Dealer, name, location, and prices.
I wonder why they did that. Must just be a coinky-dink, right?
I've played it for like 40 or so hours so far, encountered literally none of that stuff, with the weirdest thing being a bandit who said trust but verify, which made me sort of laugh because I think that's a Ronald Reagan quote maybe. And the people who are outraged over this are a joke. Their logic is non-existent. I mean, maybe they're just doing it for profit, which seems more and more likely because, I mean, intellectually, no one can defend the positions that these people are taking.
Because you didn't actually address the real positions people are taking.
He did, actually. You don't see that because you want to... But he addressed the far more egregious ones, right? So... he steel-manned you, and you still lost. Like, I mean, I would assume that pedophilia in the game would be a far more valid criticism than any of the things your stupid shit brain has brought up, right? You are bringing up what would be a surface-level nitpick at most, right? He brought up things that might actually be potentially important, and also debunk them, right? So the thing is, right, your takes are sub-Haitian IQ level because they're nitpicks at worst, right? The worst you can say is that they are a surface level nitpick, right? They are Spider-Man dancing to raindrops are falling on my head, right, in the third movie, while he's edgy Spider-Man. And it looks very
You
funny.
cherry-picked three
Right?
dumbasses
That's a nitpick, though, because it looks silly and out of place at first, right?
who made stupid points and then used that
And
to
it is a nitpick, but
represent the entire group
you
of
can
people.
do that, right? But it also doesn't ruin the movie. And clearly, a lot of people have gotten over the nitpicks that people have forced down their throats with that movie, because now people enjoy it, just like we do with the Star Wars prequels now, right?
People
Did you
that have an
know,
issue,
right, that the Star Wars prequels were hated when we were all kids by all the adults that were your age when we were growing up, right? And now we love them, right? And the reason we love these things that we were told to hate when we were kids by the 40-year-old men who are your age when we grew up is simple, right? We learned to enjoy the memey nature of those movies and not give a flying fuck what 40-year-old men had to say. Like, you're just turning into your dad, is what I'm saying.
issue with this game. So yes, when you cherry pick dumbasses, of course they're not going to be able to defend themselves in terms of an actual argument.
But your arguments now are nitpicks, right? And you keep saying the same thing, and you keep making the same dumbass mistake. These are not retcons. These are not retroactively changing things from the past in the future. These are changing the future in the future. You know the difference, right? So retroactive continuity changes events in the past. This is Sandman is the killer, not the mugger now, right? That's retconning. What you're saying is retconning is that Harry Osborn becomes the Green Goblin now, which isn't a retcon. It's a change in the plot's progression.
The problem is it's not the arguments that are being made by the general population of people that don't like the game. This is beyond disingenuous, man, at the very fucking least.
Why do we have to be genuine if you're just nitpicking? Like, you're picking at nits. That's all you're doing. You're picking at nits. You are looking at head lice as if it's a genital yeast infection.
Honestly, it feels more malicious than anything else.
Which is funny that that's the phrase is meaning. Nitpick apparently means to pick at someone's lice out of someone's head.
Can feel the
head lice, right?
Genuine
so
anger
picking at nits. And the point is that it's surface level, and that like any health problem someone has would not involve head lice if they were severe, because head lice can't actually get you sick. The worst they can do is be mildly irritating, right? But still, like, you should probably still get rid of them. I'm just saying, like, they can't really do anything to you. Whereas, like, every other parasitic insect can. Like, bed bugs especially can. Also, I've had people who believe bed bugs don't exist. That's the funniest shit ever. Like, there are people who legit don't think bed bugs exist. You can literally look them up. And I've had to deal with an infestation of them before. I literally like was waking up like barely able to stay awake because I had too much blood taking out of me at one point, because they were just all there. I had to actually threaten the fucking exterminator to do his job properly and check this one carpet that he refused to check so many times. He checked the carpet, and then what do you know? The bed bugs problem was solved.
In this video towards people insulting his favorite game of the month.
To criticize this game. Like, it's indefensible.
They didn't
but
come back
whatever.
after that, is what I'm saying.
They're just a new, morally self-obsessed version of the same problem that video games have been grappling with for so many years, which is people that don't even play the games trying to dictate what's in those games. It is, with as much emphasis as I can possibly put on this word, dumb. It is dumb.
Well, that pretty much sums up the video as well, guys.
I mean, you also proved his point there, because you said you didn't play the game. Amazing how that works, right? Like, he says a point you say isn't true, and you prove it true anyway. And then you keep hammering on this word that doesn't mean what you think it is, like retcon, and all these other things. You kill your own fan base by sneaking in anti-lolly stuff in there. Very smart for a right-winger to do. It has worked well with every single conservative that has done that in the past. All 0 of them. And that, like, it has never worked well. Like, it's a lot have tried, and it has never actually succeeded.
So I guess the key takeaway is don't insult the game that I like, or else you're an idiot. And
yeah, that's actually the key takeaway. Agreed.
Essentially. And then I'll completely misrepresent the points that are being made in opposition of said game in order to, you know, further defend my straw man position. But anyway,
what's wrong with that, right? You're entertainers, ultimately. Primarily, YouTube is for entertainment. Why can't we do that, right? Why do we have to purvey this snark, what you're calling honesty, which is actually retardation? I mean, you don't even know what words mean, dumbass. Like, why would anyone take your positions honestly at all? We don't have to. You speaking proves you wrong because you used words incorrectly, which contradicts what you mean to say, right? So we can just let you speak and you will be proven wrong by yourself. That is the best part of you, Griffin Gaming. You are the reason you were proven wrong. Your entire video proves Griffin Gaming wrong. Griffin Gaming's upper echelon Kingdom Come Deliverence Defense's pathetic video proves Griffin Gaming's upper echelon Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 Defense is pathetic video is false. You proved it, your own video, false while making it. And you don't even know it because you're retarded. And this is the funniest bit. Read a dictionary, motherfucker. Get intelligent.
Hey guys, that is going to do it.
Words mean. Also learn what the word woke means. You might actually be surprised to learn that it doesn't mean what you think it means.
For this YouTube video today, let me know in the comments.
It is a well-defined word, but I don't think you understand. You have ever read to see what
section below what you think of old
might be surprised to see what's in there.
upper echelon gamers and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Personally, I did not enjoy the first game, so I will not be buying this one.
I did do some level of sexual immaturity there,
especially after all the shit that we found out about this game post-launch. But anyway, would love.
By the way, if you couldn't tell, I have to do one sex joke. At the very least,
to hear your take on this entire situation. If you did make it this far, this was definitely a long one.
Required to.
So I do appreciate it. You guys are real ones if you did make it to the very end. So make sure to drop a like on this video
or something.
I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, I do want to thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to check out this.
The most biologically advanced person ever, right? I can beat cis women in a beauty contest because I'm a trans woman, right? I have a biological advantage in that, according to Fox News.
Video, and for all the recent support as well.
For some reason,
there will be plenty of videos coming in the future.
Like, that's the funny thing. A trans woman won a beauty contest, and they're still saying the biological advantage part. Why don't you guys just say you're homosexual at that point?
Because we're starting to get
into trans porn.
Regular release cadence.
At that point, like, that's just self-reporting that you want to suck tranny cock, right?
And so I'm gonna get back into reviewing some of these
big biological advantage that trans women have over women in a beauty contest, right? A thing where the most important part is your looks, right? And your attraction level, right? That's just admitting that you want to suck a girl's cock, right? Which, you know, like, I'm fine with, but, like, I'm just saying the self-reporting is funny.
Bigger new release titles, I'll probably review Avowed next, so keep an eye out for that one, man. I'm sure it's going to be boatloads of fun. But anyways, you guys are the fucking best. Really appreciate all the support on the channel. Make sure to hit that like button on the way out, and I will catch you guys next time.
You should blow yourself up. Sony's State of Play 2025 sucked. Wait, what? Onimusha, the Shinobi, let's see. We got Shinobi coming. We got a new Onimusha game coming, right? A new Sonic Racer coming. Borderlands 4 coming. It looks all right. I mean, Borderlands kind of went downhill, but still, a sequel to, a sequel to Returnal, right? A couple of mid-looking games. That one stop motion game that looks amazing, and then that It Takes Two game that looks like it has potential but might not be that great, but we'll have to see. I mean, the game they made before was amazing, so maybe it is, but I don't know. So okay, it sucked. Half the games were good, and the other half were either maybes or like a couple things I don't think are going to be good, right? So that's apparently sucking to this guy. Most of the games are good. A couple of them might not be perfect, right? And then one of them is definitely going to be ass. It's the one before this one, by the way. This is Savros, which is basically Returnal 2. The game right before this is AIDS. And I saw Bach Soup cover it. It objectively sucked. Or it's going to suck. Regardless, it's not going to be a good game. It's this weird, overhyped, bullshit. Where they overhyped the shit out of it and they showed gameplay and I was immediately fucking snoring. If you watch Bach with Soup, you'll see video on it. You'll see what I mean. Fucking snooze fest that second to last game, but the other games look pretty good, and also Onimusha, looked great.